And the ways of God cannot be compromised because a generation feels that the ways of God are too hard. God has his ways. So for instance, somebody will think that I can do something immoral. Like Yahoo, for instance. Yahoo is stealing. So I can steal, but my stealing and my thievery becomes invalidated because I come to give God tithe. Are you with me? So somebody thinks that I can justify my prostitution, say because I go back to God and I say, Lord, it's because my family is suffering. So I am prostituting my body to get money. Then from that money, I come to give God an offering. So my action of piety, my action of giving offering now invalidates the fact that I broke God's law. So a generation thinks that the ways of God can be upended or suspended because we are unable to meet it. And then because we are unable to meet it, God will overlook his standards to please a generation. It will never happen. He says that wives must be subject to their husbands in everything. And there is a model. The church must be subject to Christ. Where? In everything. So in the way we order worship within the sanctuary, in the way we raise men within the sanctuary, in the way we handle the word of God in the sanctuary, in the way we relate with the opposite sex within the church, we must be subject to Christ. And to be subject to Christ is to be subject to his laws, his commandments, his will, his ways. So this thing that we do in modern day Christianity, that any politician that comes to church, we give him mic on the pulpit, is not a standard in the Bible. This thing that my generation celebrates, that you know that somebody is not a child of God, but anything that happens to their life, they'll say it is God, it is God, it is God. And we have come to the point whereby even when somebody's life is wrong, but because they have the things we call results, we are willing to appropriate their results to God and forgive their immoral lifestyle. It's not the way of God. And we've done these studies repeatedly. But you see, it's good to always repeat teaching. We've done it repeatedly. All you need to do is look at the Old Testament and you will see God's desperation to separate Israel from the rest of the nations. It was a desperate agenda. Desperate. Don't think like them. Don't act like them. Don't worship like them. Don't go to their gods. Don't give your children to them in marriage. Is it that God was a bad God? It's because God has an obsession of distinction for his people. It's an obsession. And if you refuse to be distinct, if you are afraid, because some people refuse, some people are afraid. The reason some people refuse is what Pastor Oji was telling us during prayers. The reason many people refuse to be distinct is because they've already made up their minds that God's requirements are too hard. Don't you know that it is easier to be in a relationship and be fornicating? It's easier. Don't you know that it's easier to be a thief than to be a man of integrity? It's easier. Don't you know it is easier to corrupt all your opposite sex relationship? Any sister that is your friend, you must sleep with her. Any brother that is your friend, you must hear that both of you got naked and did all kinds of things. No opposite sex is safe in your space. It's easier to yield to the flesh than to surrender to the ways of God. It's easier. So even Moses called it the pleasures of Egypt. Egypt, that was a place of slavery for some, was also a place of pleasure for some. So sin is pleasurable. It takes sacrifice to be willing to walk with God. And he says the wives will deliberately make up their minds that in everything I will submit to my husband. So even though it is not convenient, but because Christ is the head of the church, it is what Christ wants that the church must model. Is what he wants. But now, when you look at our songs, when you look at our dances, when you look at the messages that men of God preach, your heart will begin to quake. Do we really know that Christ is the head of the church? Do we really know that he's the head of the church? So he says, wives, submit to your husband in everything, just as the church is submitted to God. 25. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for her. That's where I'm going now. 26. That he may do what? Sanctify and cleanse her with the washing of water by what? So the first thing is that he might do what? Sanctify. The Greek word there that is used for sanctify there is the word hagiazo. And it means to separate from profanity. Are you with me tonight? To sanctify and cleanse her. So there are two things there. If you read another translation, it might say to make her holy. Hagiazo. To separate her from profanity. Not only to separate her, but to also wash her. Here again, you are seeing the burden of the Lord for distinction. If the world cannot clearly be distinct from the church, then we know that an unholy marriage has occurred. An unholy union has occurred. There must be a clear distinction between those that are the kings in Israel and then the daughters of hidden men. It must be clear that there's no place, there's no common ground that can be found between one that has experienced hagiazo and one that does not know God. This was the problem of Israel. In Ahab's union with Jezebel, he broke the first order of God, which was the order of separation.